Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Chloe Feng. Our top stories tonight. Thousands of students are affected as a Lunchbox supplier suspends service. The Hong Kong Arts Festival opens with almost all COVID curbs lifted for the first time in 3 years. And local stocks sink after the chairman of a Beijing-based investment bank goes missing. A school lunchbox supplier is suspending services for 2 days, following reports of students falling ill. As a result, over 100,000 students will have to think of another option, with one school turning to parents for help. Janice Low has details.
Students in 200 schools across Hong Kong will have to come up with ideas on how to get lunch next Monday and Tuesday, because their supplier is suspending services on those days. This follows complaints that some students felt unwell after eating meals prepared by Lunch and Star, a subsidiary of fast food chain Cafe de Coral. The company provides over 100,000 lunch boxes each day to more than 200 schools. One of them is Yan Chai Hospital Chiu Tung Hock Wan Primary School in Cheng Yi. As the students there resumed full-day classes just 2 days ago, the principal, Augustine Chan, has not received reports of any of them feeling ill after lunch. But he said the lunch boxes were not warm on Wednesday. We have been monitoring their temperature ever since. Chen said the school has invited parents to come and cook for around 130 students on Monday and Tuesday. Older students will also help prepare the food during their home economics class. Taking to the airwaves this morning, Education Sector lawmaker Chu Kuo-keung said the Education Bureau has asked schools to set up contingency plans. If they are unable to get another meal provider, schools can switch to virtual classes in the afternoon. The Food and Environmental Hygiene Department said it received complaints and referrals from the Center for Health Protection regarding alleged food poisoning. The department inspected Lunch and Star's factories in Sha Tin and Yuen Long in the past 2 days to collect food and environmental samples. It's prosecuting the Yuen Long plant for alleged improper maintenance. Janice Low, HKIBC.
The government will stop providing free PCR tests from next month. Also from March the 1st, those working in public hospitals and care homes, as well as visitors, do not need to take PCR tests. Instead, they will have to undergo a self-administered test before entering those premises. The government will reduce the number of community testing centers and stations from 85 to 21. They will provide PCR tests only to those who pay for them. A crew member has died after a mainland cargo vessel sank between Lama and Po Tai Islands this morning. A government flying service helicopter airlifted the man to Eastern Hospital, where he was declared dead. 2 other crew members who were rescued did not need hospitalization, but police arrested them for alleged illegal entry, as they had no documents to prove their identity. The Hong Kong Arts Festival has opened with almost no COVID measures in force for the first time in 3 years. Although there's no quarantine, there are fewer overseas performers this year because of the high cost of air travel, Missy Mock reports.
The live performances include Peer Gynt, featuring dancers from the Ballet of Slovene National Theatre Maribor. Their show this weekend is one of the highlights of the 51st Hong Kong Arts Festival. COVID took a toll on the cultural feast, and all musical and dance performances were suspended in 2020. In the following 2 years, some shows were moved online. Program Director Grace Lang is pleased that Hong Kong has returned to normalcy. so that overseas performers do not have to go into quarantine. More than 400 artists are taking part in 40 shows. In pre-COVID days, there were over 1,000 performers. Lang said theater companies with a large number of people are not able to travel because air tickets are costly. Chief Executive John Lee officiated at the opening of the cultural feast this evening.
It has been 3 long years since we last held an opening ceremony of this kind at the Hong Kong Cultural Center. We're so glad to be back. And now that the pandemic is almost over, we are really happy to be able to gather again in this physical venue to enjoy the performances of the world's best artists together.
The 5-week festival includes dance and theater performances by international and Hong Kong artists. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
To speed up the distribution of electronic toll tax, 2 additional service counters will become operational next Monday.
There are still more than 2 months to go before the launching of the Hong Kong e-toll at Chengsha Control Area. We are confident that with the series of assistance measures and with the series of new service center, consultation centers, we will be able to assist all of the vehicle owners and taxi drivers who would like to get a vehicle tag and their taxi driver card or log onto our system. We are confident about that.
Taxi owners and drivers can use the 2 new centers in Chengwan or Shanwan to get their toll tags after they book a spot using the Hong Kong e-toll app. Cab drivers can get assistance at 9 designated LPG stations to reserve their slot. Lau said about 5,000 taxis have still not received tags. Rescue teams that rushed to Turkey from China and Hong Kong have returned after saving earthquake survivors. A chartered plane carrying the team members landed in Beijing this afternoon. Hong Kong officials, including Chief Secretary Eric Chan and Security Minister Chris Tang, were in the capital to join others in welcoming the rescuers. The SAR team, which pulled out 4 people, was scheduled to return home tonight. The Hong Kong Red Cross, meanwhile, has received about $10 million for quake victims in Turkey and Syria. The charity is appealing for more donations to feed the survivors in midwinter and help with reconstruction. Chances are fading of finding survivors in the earthquake. But there was a glimmer of hope when 17-year-old Alina Oms was brought out alive after an agonizing 248 hours buried under the rubble of a collapsed building in southern Turkey. She was taken to hospital and later flown to the capital, Ankara, where specialists will help her overcome her trauma. In quake-stricken areas, flimsy tents provide some shelter, and survivors struggle to feed themselves. More than 42,000 lives are known to be lost so far. Beijing has accused Washington of feeling tensions after shooting down what China says was a weather balloon. This follows U.S. President Joe Biden's statement that he will not apologize for shooting down what he insisted was a spy craft. Sachin Kadvi reporting.
美方不能一边要沟通对话，一边激化矛盾，升级危机。
Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin said the United States needs to work with China to resolve differences that arose from the balloon incident, which he described as an unexpected and isolated incident. He also accused the U.S. of seeking talks while at the same time fueling tensions and escalating the crisis. Wang was responding after U.S. President Joe Biden said the balloon, which the U.S. maintains was a spycraft, had violated its sovereignty.
As I've said since the beginning of my administration, we seek competition, not conflict with China. We're not looking for a new Cold War. And I expect to be speaking with President Xi, and I hope we're going to get to the bottom of this. But I make no apologies for taking down that balloon.
Biden made it clear that 3 other objects shot down by U.S. warplanes in the past week had nothing to do with China. China, meanwhile, has placed American defense manufacturers Lockheed Martin and Raytheon on a sanctions list over arms sales to Taiwan. Sachin Karpi, HKIBC.
Hong Kong investors were jittery today following reports that the chairman of China Renaissance is missing. This helped push local stocks down to a one-month low. The Hang Seng Index started the session higher before ending the day 1.3% lower at 20,719 points. Turnover fell below $90 billion to a new record low for the year. A major contributor to the plunge was investment bank and dealmaker China Renaissance. Its shares nosedived by as much as 50% before paring some losses to close down 28%, the lowest since its listing in 2018. The retreat came after the Beijing-based firm said it had been unable to contact its founder and chairman Bao Fan, a high-profile dealmaker and a key figure in the fundraising and mergers of Didi, Meituan, and Trip.com. Bloomberg, citing sources, said Bao had been out of contact with the company for about 2 days, and his family was told that he was assisting an investigation. His disappearance is fueling speculation of a renewed clampdown on the mainland's finance industry. The Hang Seng Tech Index, meanwhile, fell 2.5%. Investor favorites Tencent, Alibaba, Meituan all gave up over 2%, while Baidu plunged 4.6%. Lenovo, the world's biggest PC maker, tumbled 3.1% after profit fell for the first time in nearly 3 years because of waning demand. Hysan Development also had its sales dropping 1.9% after its turnover last year swung into the red. And now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed down 267 points. Top 10 active stocks: Tencent lost $8.80, Alibaba lost $2.65, Meituan lost $4.10. JD.com lost $2 and Baidu lost $6.80. BYD Company lost $5.60. Hong Kong tycoon Li Ka-shing has cut his stake in software company Zoom as his stocks have fallen to pre-COVID levels. Li, who has been investing in the video conferencing app since 2013, offloaded 2.9 million shares worth about $275 million between March and the end of last year. He's still the biggest shareholder with a 6.9% slice of the firm. The value of Zoom shares has plummeted to $1.6 billion, compared with $11 billion in October 2020. The company earlier announced plans to sack 1,300 staff, about 15% of its workforce. On to the weather now. It will stay dry and sunny until early next week. Temperatures tomorrow will range between 18 and 24 degrees. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Friday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Chloe Feng. Good night.